Hi, this is Nancy with On Point TV. It is a nice sunny Sunday afternoon and we're ready to do another live video. I really like doing these live ones when I'm doing a free motion quilting just because there's so many different designs. I obviously can't capture them all in one video. So this way there's a different way for you to get different designs as we go along, and maybe not such a long video, although sometimes my videos go longer than I think they are. So right to the point. All right. We're going to start with some free motion quilting. So I'm working on my FAF Hobby 1200, which is just that basic sewing machine with the power that you need. And its goal in life is to do nothing more than free motion quilt. I don't know if this is actually even available anymore, but there's other ones like it. The threads that I'm using in my bobbin, I'm using the SuperBOBs. And so those are the bottom line thread, which is a 60 weight polyester, and this is from Superior Threads. Keep in mind, there are these kind of sets like this that have lots of different colors, and those happen to work very nicely in my machine. They don't work that nicely in every machine, so they are available for purchase on larger cones like this. So this happens to be one of those colors that is just a really good all over hiding color. These are available on firesidequilts.com, which is owned by a friend of mine. So the tools that I'm using, hopefully you'll be able to find them at that website. It's a new website, so Laura's still building up her inventory. So if you're not finding something that you think you need, let me know and we'll let Laura know. I'm going to be using the Topstitch needles. Remember, Topstitch is always my favorite needle for free motion quilting. I had a class yesterday with free motion quilting, and they're like, well, can't I use my Microtex? And I'm like, well, no, the Microtex is for piecing, and I love that. And they're like, well, why would I want to use a Topstitch needle? And I said, you want to use the Topstitch needle if you don't like your threads breaking. So if you like your threads breaking, go ahead and use any other needle you like. But I'm telling you, you got to trust me, or at least try it. If you don't like it when your threads break, get yourself a Topstitch needle. This one happens to be from Schmetz. There's some really nice ones from Class A, Oregon, whatever brand you like is going to work. I'm going to be using this Floriani thread this time. I have a nice little collection of different colors, different shades of greens. So I'm going to stick with one of the shades just so that you don't have to watch me going in and out. But these are a Floriani embroidery thread, which is going to be a shiny polyester thread. Whoops! Threads down, threads down. And I'm going to use a kind of a neutral color for the backing. So that's what I have on the backing, all right? But there are, in this quilt, sometimes that there's a lighter fabric. So look at this lighter fabric here. When I was quilting that lighter fabric, I did not use that darker color on the back. And here's another place, and this is the design that I'm going to be showing you, one of the designs that I'm going to be showing you. You see how this is with a lighter fabric? If it's a lighter fabric on top, let me flip this over. I'm going to use a lighter fabric, a lighter thread in the bobbin. Whenever you're using a light thread on top, you really need to use a light thread in your bobbin. Otherwise, you'll get those little peaks of dark that'll come on up to the top. So now that I'm going to be doing some of the other green colors, I have changed it up so that I have the darker one in the bobbin. Hi again.
We have a question.
Yes.
What if the needle breaks going left to right?
If the needle breaks going left to right, I hate to say this, and I could be wrong, but it's usually a user problem, not a machine problem. What that usually means is that you are moving your hands too fast. The machine has to be going at a speed that it can be going up and down, so that while you're moving it, the needle is just going to continually be flying up and down. If you are moving your hands too fast and your machine's so slow, so let's say your machine needle goes down, up, and you're moving the fabric, when it goes down, if you move the fabric too fast, you're pulling the needle to the right or to the left, and that's usually why there's going to be breaks. I'm assuming that you don't have a single hole faceplate, because that oftentimes can lead to breakage if you're just moving a little bit fast too. That's going to be my thought. I'm not watching you quilt, so I can't see that for positive, but that would be my thought. You need to slow down your hands and or speed up your machine. We'll talk about that a little bit more too. So I am going to be using the Lickety Grip. Remember, the Lickety Grip is no longer available on the market. You can be wearing the machine gear gloves, which are available on that firesidequilts.com. And Laura is trying to find a substitute for the Lickety Grip. If you happen to find some in your area, if I were you, I would grab it. If I were you and you grab it and you don't like it, please let me know and I'll send you my address and I'll take it off your hands. I love Lickety Grip. It's what I've been using for quilting for a long time. So I'm kind of addicted to it, and hopefully Laura's going to find me a replacement really soon. All right. So we are ready to start quilting. So on this quilt, I first want to show you what I've already done. On this quilt, I already stitched down here. So this is what I call my stabilizing quilting. And do you see how it is just on the ledge of that border? So with the border, remember, you're always pressing the seam out. So when I quilt on the ledge, that means I am holding that seam in place, and I quilt that, you know, a nice straight line. Now, many people will want to do that with their walking foot. Go ahead, do it with your walking foot. I just actually like to do it with my free motion foot, and I just kind of guide it through straight as I go. My sister and I find that that's just a lot easier for us. And then I did my second row of quilting. So I've got my straight line here, my straight line here, and then I'm going to do a straight line on the edge of the quilt to hold everything in place. Now this does not have that much room on the outside. My friend Mary basted this. This is her quilt. I wish that there was more. I wish that there was about that much batting and backing here on the side so that my hand has a place to go, but that's all right, Mary. I'll still make it work. I'm gonna talk to you first. Oops, let me turn this around, because the first thing I want to do is Appliqué these circles down. So these circles were fused down. Mary first put a fusible. I do not know which fusible she used, but she used a fusible on the back of this fabric and then cut these circles out and ironed them down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quilt right along the edge, maybe 1/8 of an inch in on the edge, and that's going to hold these down. Keeping in mind, this is a wall quilt, not a crib quilt that would be washed 100 times. So it will hold up for a few washings and it'll be just fine. So the idea is I'm just going to start with my teeny stitches. I always like to start with some small stitches and then just stitch around it nice and even. My machine is going at a nice tempo. My hands are going at a nice tempo. So that's going to give me, about a normal 2.5 stitch length. When I get to the end, I take some tiny stitches, stop, and I'm going to reach over and use my thread cutter. Then I'm just going to bop on down to my next circle and go again. Now with this machine, my thread cutter usually works. It has been getting stuck a little bit, and that's because I haven't had a tune-up in a while. So my big machine I actually have at the machine shop, I just broke a thread. After bragging about how using this needle, my thread never breaks, sure enough, I go and break a thread. Why did the thread break? Generally speaking, when you're doing work, this in Appliqué quilting where there's a fusible, it can cause your threads to break going through all those layers and the adhesive. So, but this is a great time for me to show you what to do now. So let's say your thread breaks. My thread broke right here. I've got it already threaded again. Bring your quilt forward, then put the quilt back. Now what that did is that stretched out the bobbins thread. So now my bobbin thread is probably underneath here, might be about 5-6 inches long. I'm going to get back into position. I'm going to do needle down, needle up. Now bring the quilt forward, and when I do that, ta-da, there is my bobbin thread. Do you see how it's in a loop? That's from the bobbin thread. Now I'm going to go back into position, pulling my bobbin thread and my top thread, put my needle back down, my presser foot back down, and I'm ready to start. And I'm always going to start with 4 or 5 little stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then continue on around the circle. Stopping with 4 or 5 little stitches and thread cutting off. Let's see if it worked this time. Yep, my thread cutter worked. So that's the idea for the Appliqué quilting, gonna go around. I do not think I am going to add any other quilting to the inside of it. I do like the way that it's sort of puffing up around the quilting that I've done. If when I get done, it puffs up more than I'm comfortable with, I might come back and do another row of quilting on the inside. The difficulty with that is it's more noticeable on the inside. And so if my circle isn't really, really nice, it's not gonna look really, really nice. So I'll think about how I'm gonna do that later. All right, now I'm gonna turn the quilt. Actually, I'm not gonna turn the quilt. I'm gonna show you the design that I'm gonna do here, and then I'm gonna do it. This is the design I'm gonna do. So these are called Pebbles. They're not really pebbles. They're kind of like, look like eyeballs if you ask me. So here's your eye and here's the pupil. So they're done in a loop-de-loop fashion. It has sort of a pebble look, but something about adding that extra circle on it just gives it a really cool look. Quilters are doing this all over. I don't know who came up with it first. I've been seeing it for quite a few years now, so it's nothing new, but if you haven't tried it, it's really very fun. So we're gonna go, and the idea here is I'm gonna do these loopy eyeballs, then I'm gonna do loopies, and I'll show you how to do that. This center section, I'm gonna do loopy eyeballs, then I'm gonna do loopies, and then loopy eyeballs again. So because this thread I don't think will show really well on the dark, I'm gonna do it on this center section, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to see and that the side of the quilt won't flip up too much on us, okay? So I'm gonna come over here to the start. I used my thread cutter, so I do not need to bring my bobbin thread to the top with this machine. It works really nice, and I'm ready to start. Now I'm gonna start going a little bit slow just so that you can see what I'm doing, going all the way around the circle, and then I'm kind of adding that pupil to the inside of that ring, and then going around another time to another side, adding that pupil, coming back down, and I'm gonna vary the size of my circles. Sometimes the pupil might be on top, sometimes the pupil might be on the bottom, sometimes there might not be a pupil. If I make a small enough one, I might not put that little extra circle on the inside. So now I'm gonna speed up my tempo, and as you heard my machine speed up, you also saw that my hands started moving a little faster. That is the idea. There is no stitch length with free motion quilting. It all comes from the speed of the machine and the speed of your hands working in harmony. So now I'm going to speed up a little bit more, and you'll see my hands go a little bit faster. All right, so that's it, in harmony. Whether my hands are moving slow or then my machine would be moving slow. My hands are moving faster, my machine is moving faster. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to show you another version of it where I'm going to put 3 little rings together. So I'm going to do this one just 2, and then I'm going to get to this nice space. No, not this time, next time. Okay, hold on, one more time. I want to do this guy a little bit bigger. Do a nice big ring, then do a half circle, and then do a smaller circle. And look at how it makes that kind of 3 going around. And ooh, by going around one more time to catch over here, I made it almost look like 5 circles. That was kind of cool. So those are loop-dees with a pupil. I know that there's probably a better word for it, and I'm sure you guys will all come up with one and send it to me, okay? So I just think that's gonna look really cool. I love the feel of that for the design that this quilt is. So I'm gonna cut off my thread. We're gonna go to this next section, and this time I'm gonna turn the quilt this way, and I'm gonna be bringing the quilt toward me as I go so that I can see where it is that I'm going to put my next loops. And I'm gonna take this pin out that was for basting. I'm gonna show you something. This is a bonus. This is how I store my pins. So this is a pencil box. I got this from my friend Julie quite a few years ago, and it's got a piece of foam in it, and there goes my pins. So that when I want my pins to baste, I just take them out. They're already open. I can baste. When I'm in the process of quilting, I take my pins out and I set them in like that, and then this whole thing gets packed full of my safety pins. They're lined up like little soldier guys. I just really like that. Thank you, Julie. I use this all the time. Okay, So now we're going to do some loopies. Now these are going to be long loopies. In the class I taught yesterday, the gals just loved it. And they found that it was actually quite easy to do. And they were all very beginner free motion quilters. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to come and do a long loopy and then come back and do a long loopy. Now, one of the students, Sherry, she said she liked it because it reminded her of handwriting an L where there's a loop at the top and a loop at the bottom. Her middle name started with an L, so she found that quite comfortable to do. So again, I'm going to start it nice and slow. And I'm moving my hands very slowly. Come into a long loop. Crisscrossing it here. Uh-oh, Athena, you're leaning on the quilt. Okay, there. Okay, coming back over. Again, a slow tempo for this, just because I want you to see what I'm doing. Crisscrossing. And I'm going to just go to that applique circle and come back. Now this time I'm going to go between the applique circles. So I like this particular design because it really fills the space nicely. I'm able to make it shorter and then longer when I need it to be. And when it's time to stop, stop on a crisscross. So are you not seeing what I'm quilting? Can you see? Can you see that? There you go. There. All right. So it's going to kind of loopy back and forth. I will try to do it sideways. Do you think you'll be able to see it that way better? All right. I'm going to try and do it this way. Instead of going toward me, I'm going to work to the left. I don't know if that'll work. All right. So this time I'm going to go a little bit faster. Athena doesn't know if that'll work either. So we're going to give it a try. Bear with us. Ready? Okay. Now I'm going to go a little bit faster. Oops. A little bit small. Now I'm going to go between the applique. Come on up to the top, making them a little bit longer. Now I'm going to go faster. Did you see that my hands also picked up tempo? When the machine picks up tempo, my hands pick up tempo. They work in harmony with each other. And so now I can make them a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, and back and forth. This is a really fun design. I found that it kind of was very relaxing because I didn't have to be thinking about where I was going to go next. It was just one loopy after another. This is also a very nice design if you're just wanting to fill a straight border. I'm going to stop right at the intersection of that loopy. Can you see them? Oh, there, we can see it very nicely there. So those are the loopies. Nice design, nice place to fill in because I got to come longer and I got to come shorter, but it could also work on a very straight border if you just wanted to go back and forth so that the loopies were all approximately the same size. All right, going to cut this off and we're going to move to the border design. Now, the border design that I've decided to do, let me turn this light and see if that'll help us see it. Oh, that was odd. Okay, can you see it? Okay, you keep it there and I'm going to move the quilt. Okay, there. All right. So it is going to have some spirals that come in and come back out. Hello, Missouri. How are you today? Is it nice and warm down there? Because it's kind of cold up here in Michigan. Okay, and then I'm also going to do some pebbles. Now I'm going to really show you what I'm going to do because this was in a book. I'm kind of a book collector, and I am sure that many of you are also. I know they can be expensive, but when it comes to having books, as opposed to just having everything online, it makes a big difference. I know that not all the time do you want to do that. I have a book. The book, my Learning to Quilt book, is available online, and it's available in hard copy. You can take a look at that on the website, www.onpoint-tv.com. But this is a book that I had in my book stash. And when I went to class yesterday, I like to pull all of my, if I'm doing New York Beauties, I'm going to grab any book I have on New York Beauties. If I'm doing Lone Stars, I'm going to grab every book I have on Lone Stars. I was doing some free motion quilting, so I grabbed all the books that I could find that I had in my stash on free motion quilting, and this is one of them. I like that it's doodling quilting. I love the name of it. That's just kind of fun. And it means that nothing is really formal. There's no stencils. There's no, rulers making everything exactly perfect because you're just doodling. And in my book, I believe that if you can draw it, you can quilt it. which makes perfect sense. So this book was from Karen Burns. It was published by Martingale, or That Patchwork Place, and it was copyright 2016, which makes it about 4 years old now. I don't know if you'll be able to find it anywhere, but it's worth taking a look. Doodle Quilting Designs by Karen Burns. And in this book, I found this design. All right. This is the design that I'm going to quilt on this quilt, and I'm going to kind of talk you through it. I'm going to do it on a lighter part of the border so that hopefully you'll be able to see it as I go. So we're going to do large swirls that are I'm going to have them crisscross, and I'll explain that while I go. And then we're going to add pebbles to the background instead of stippling, because I definitely could have just done little stippling to kind of hold that down, which will make the swirls stand up. But the pebbles are just funner, especially when I'm looking at the style of this quilt with all these, the great colors that Mary put in it, and then this fabric and the circles. I just thought pebbles made perfect sense. So I'm going to take out my pins along the border. Going to put them in my handy dandy pin tray. I want to make sure that there's none. There's one more here. I want to take them out because I'm going to be working backwards, and I don't want to run into a pin as I go. All right. So we're going to start down here. We're going to let's start right here. All right. I'm going to start with the swirls. So I'm going to pattern my swirls as one large swirl, two small swirls. One large swirl, two small swirls. So I'm going to start out kind of slow again. Going to kind of come up here, not making any straight lines. I want curved lines. And I'm going to spiral in, maybe 2.5 times. On my way back, I am intentionally crisscrossing my line. I'm not staying on the inside. I'm not staying on the outside. I am crisscrossing it all the way. So for me, it kind of looks like ribbons. Now I'm going to go back, staying on that spine that I did, up near the top. Now I'm going to do a smaller one. So going in 1.5 times, crisscrossing as I come back to meet up with my large swirl again. Can you see it? Oh, this is a hard one to see, you guys. Bear with us, okay? Then we're going to come up, and I'm going to do another medium-sized swirl. And crisscrossing it to make it kind of be ribbon. Now I'm going to do a large swirl going in the opposite direction of my original large swirl. Go in 2.5 or 3 times, come back out, and intentionally crisscross that line. What it does is it makes it look kind of like ribbon. You know how the ribbon gets fatter and skinnier? Meet down to where the leather swirl is, and now I'm going to go all the way back up that part of the ribbon and do a smaller swirl in the opposite direction. Did you hear my machine speed up? And then you saw my hands start to go faster. And now one in the opposite direction, so my swirls are going always in one direction then the other. So to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And doing one larger and 2 smaller. So now I'm going to go back up for a larger one, going in the opposite direction. And this is one that it's very helpful to actually draw this on paper first, so you kind of get a feel for the idea of those ribbons. Now I'm going to go back up the ribbon and do a smaller one in the opposite direction. So one large, one small, going in opposite directions every time. So coming here for one going in the other direction. All right, once I get done with this one, we're going to stop and we're going to do some pebble work right next to these swirls. Now I would actually take this, oops, sorry for the bump, and I would continue all the way up and I would do all the swirls and then I would do the pebbles. So can you see that? All right, I think you can see that okay. All right, so I'm going to do the pebbles in this area here where it's the lighter fabric, so you'll be able to see it a little better. And the idea, like you can see here, the swirl is holding it down. The swirl is holding it down. But do you see how this is kind of puffy here? I'm just not a fan of it. I don't think that it doesn't bring to the quilt anything. It just kind of is like, whoops, I'm there, I'm a swirl on the border, and that's all I got to do. So by adding these pebbles, it's going to give it so much more character, and it's going to make these swirls, this big part in here, actually puff up a little bit, which then will make it more noticeable. So we're going to start right here because I want you to see how I get around this other side, okay? So these are pebbles. The idea of pebbles, I'm going to start slow and then go a little bit faster. The idea of pebbles is to go around. I should cut off that thread, excuse me. I can't get it. Well, I'll cut it off right there. Whoops. I like these embroidery scissors. These are for machine embroidery users because then they can get inside the hoop to cut off, and I have found these to be my go-to when I'm snipping threads with free motion quilting. They're just comfortable, and I know that I'm not accidentally going to clip my fabric. All right, so back to my pebbles. The idea is you're going around a pebble and then right next to it creating another pebble. Sometimes it looks like you're going around twice, like right there. Sometimes you're not going around twice at all, but because there's a pebble next to the pebble, it makes it look like every one has been gone around twice. And really, sometimes you go around them twice, sometimes you go around it just once. Like that one's just once. This one's gonna be once. This one's gonna be twice because I'm gonna come back up on the other side. But because they're right next to each other, it gives the illusion that you have gone around all of them twice when you really haven't. And what's fun about pebbles is to vary the sizes. Don't make them all the same size because pebbles are never all the same size in nature. So give them some variety. Sometimes they're going to be small, sometimes they're going to be a little bit bigger. As you're going, when you get to those spirals, like that one, I'm going to stop here in a second, like right here, I did the pebbles only to there. I did not go all the way, hi Vicki, I did not go all the way to the inside of the swirl. I'm just working on this part here because I want that part of the swirl to stand up. After I complete this part, I'll come to the outside and I'll do the same thing so that that will make it stand down. So these will be down, the swirls will be up. When Mary hangs this on the wall, it will actually, you will be able to notice that it happens, even though I know it's a little bit harder to see it there. So there you go. 3 new quilting designs. So we had the circles with the pupils. I know that's probably not the proper way.
Stuffed olives is what they're called.
Stuffed olives. Thank you very much. Now we know. Those are the stuffed olives quilting design. That's actually really cute. I love olives. Then we did the long loop-de-doos, kind of filling in that longer space. I do love the idea of doing the different designs on each one of those panels, just because it's interesting. And then on the border, we did the swirls with the pebbles that I found in the book, The Doodle Quilting Designs by Karen Burns. And we did a little bit of Appliqué on the big circles. So my friend Mary, if you happen to be watching, your quilt will be done when you come back from Florida. So I expect some sunshine when you come back. And that's it. That's all we got for today. If you have any questions, my email is quiltingwithnancy@gmail.com. If you like the idea of the book or want more information about us, we do have a website. It's onpoint-tv. If you're looking for any of the supplies that I use, not just these for machine quilting, but for all the different supplies I use, then you can head to Fireside Quilts. And at Fireside Quilts, Laura is picking up all of the different supplies that I am using. And I think that's it. I hope you all have a really great day. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Talk to you later.